data analysts, you'll be required to create impressive reports either using dashboards or visualization. Okay, so in the next 8 videos, like I mentioned, we will be talking about visualization using Microsoft Excel. So what do you understand about visualization? What is its purpose? I mean, why do we need to use it? What are the key things that we need to take care when visually representing our data? We will learn all of this in the next few sessions. All of these 8 sessions are power-packed and will help you take your visualization from here to here. Okay, so let's start understanding what exactly is data visualization. Okay, before I explain what data visualization is, I want you to look at this slide and then tell me, what do you see? And what do you understand from the visual that I'm just showing it to you right now, which is this slide? What do you think? So let's do a quick go through. So what do we see here? As the title suggests, this is a sales surplus versus shortfall chart. It depicts the sale for the 12 months for the 5 publishers. I can see some positive values, some negative values. The positive values tells me that this is the surplus that the publishers have done, and the negative values on a particular month where they fell short. Now let me show you 2 different ways to plot the same data, and then tell me which one did you like, and then tell me why did you like it. Okay, so this is the first where everything is like plotted, everything is this. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is the first chart. Here I have 4 markers on the right: surplus, shortfall, high, and low. The first one is surplus, which is shown by a lighter green. The second one is the shortfall, which is the negative numbers, and those are in red. The third marker is highest surplus sale reached, if you look at it like this, and the low marker is for the highest value by which the sale was missed. Not only these markers tell you what this chart is about, but it also points out efficiently which is the highest point and which is the lowest point. In which month did a particular publisher do pretty bad and did pretty good, etc. Now let's look at the second chart. In the second visualization, even though there are no values here, just the title and the colors can tell you which months did a particular publisher did well and in which months it did not do well. For example, let's take the example of Tetris. So Tetris did not do well in which months? Let's look at the reds. So March, July, and December. Just by looking at this, I know in which months it did not do well. Data visualization not only helps you to identify patterns, right, but also outliers in large data sets. So if I look at this data here, just look at these red parts. You don't have to even search for it. Just by looking at it, and you will come to know what the outlier is. By the way, this is called a sparkline. We will cover sparkline in one of the future videos. Now let's delve slightly deeper into data visualization. During this video, I will keep on dropping tips and tricks for data visualization. You may want to keep a notepad and a pen handy so that you can quickly take short notes. Okay. When you search for, let's say, the web, when you search the web on data visualization, you will notice that there are a lot of theories around it. For example, the 5-second rule. Similarly, there are other theories as well. Somebody says there are 6 steps to data visualization. Somebody will say there are 3 steps. Somebody will say there are 7 steps. It really does not matter. Till the time you understand the steps that you need to take care, if you understand what are the steps that you need to take care in creating the data visualization, it doesn't matter in how many steps you categorize it. Okay. For example, I personally categorize them in 4 steps. Let's understand what those 4 steps are. The first one is obtaining and understanding your data. To create any data visualization, you need data, right? I hope you'll agree to that. To create anything, you need the data. So the very first step is to get your hands on data. As data analyst, you'll be working with different kind of data formats. Depending on whether you're getting the data from, let's say, from a colleague or from online, there can be different formats. So for example, if you're downloading it from a website, it can be in a CSV format. If you're getting the data from other departments, then there's a huge possibility that you will get an Excel file format, which is XLSX. There will be occasions when you will have to import data from PDF. You may even have to import data from SQL Server. So there can be different kind of formats. If the data is ready in Excel, then that will save you time to prepare your data. In one of my previous videos, I have already explained how to import data into Excel worksheet. Once you have the data in your worksheet, you must then understand what the data is all about. So we have got the data. Now let's understand what the data is doing. Does it have all the relevant information? Whatever I'm going to create the visualization about, does it have all the relevant information? One important thing that you should always do is check the reliability of data as data analyst. I'm not sure whether somebody will tell you this, but you need to do that. This data is going to be the base for your visualization, which ultimately will help your audience to arrive at a particular decision. What do you have? I mean, you have to take care that all the necessary information is in one place. And then, and only then, you are ready for the second step, which is preparing the data. The next step is to prepare your data. In the last 8 to 9 videos, I've already explained how to interact with your data. We will not waste time getting into that. If you remember, I spoke about how to work with tables, pivot tables, etc. So if you're not sure how that works, I would recommend watching those videos. So once your data is prepared, you are now ready for the third step, which is identify your audience. Now, why is this important? This is very important because this will also help you set your goal. Every data visualization has a goal. Why am I creating the visualization? This again, like I said, is a very important step. You need to understand who your audience is. Let me explain using an example. Every company has a different management level. On a broader scale, you have junior, mid-level, and senior management levels. Each of the level wants to see the data in a different way. The topmost level will rarely want to get into micro data. Let's say there's a company called TameXL, okay, and it operates in different parts of the country. All states in India, let's say they are grouped into 4 regions: East, West, North, and South. In every state, there are, let's say, 10 salesmen who report to a junior level manager. Okay, the 4 junior level managers, let's say they report to 4 regional managers, the second level. And for every region, there's a regional manager who is a mid-level manager, and that, let's say, regional manager is reporting to a country head. So you have country head, 4 regional managers, and then you have a low-level manager. Now, what kind of report will the low-level manager would like to see? So he would want to see who are his top performers in terms of the sales executives, who are his bottom performers, what is the sales trend among his employees, yeah, and how is their sales impacting his own personal target. So as a manager, you have to also take care of your target, your own personal target. Yeah. So you have to, if you're doing data visualization, you have to take care of that. He would be least bothered how the overall country is doing, unless he's over inquisitive. The regional manager will not bother with the sales trend among the employees. That is within each state. He'll be more interested in how his manager's sales are impacting his own personal target. It's all about target in the end. So who are his top performers in terms of managers? Who are his bottom performers in terms of managers? Similarly, the country head will be least bothered with the employee or low-level manager sales trend. He would want quick figures for his regional managers, which can help him analyze and predict the future course of action. So as data analyst, always identify what the goal of your data visualization is. If you're not sure, now this is something which nobody will tell you. If you're not sure, it is best to ask your inline manager or your audience directly, what would you like to see in your data visualization? Speaking helps. Talking to your audience helps. I've seen a lot of examples where data analysts just clutter the data visuals with a lot of unwanted visualizations. Your objective should always be to keep your data visualizations attractive, interesting, yet simple and to the point. Yeah, your audience should be able to quickly and effortlessly derive insights from what they see. Doesn't matter whether they're able to do it in 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Yeah, but if they're taking minutes to understand your data, then definitely there's something wrong. Yeah. So as the level goes up, people have very less time. So always take care of that. And the final step is create the right kind of visualization. Now you can use charts, you can use tables, you can use conditional formatting, you can use shapes. Okay, now this is if you have been with me for a long time, I did not talk anything about shapes. Don't worry. When we are doing data visualization with charts, I will talk about shapes. In fact, in the next session, we'll talk about shapes, how we can use shapes. Now, there's no standard set for visualization technique, and that is because there is no one way of doing it. So if somebody tells you, no, this is the only way you should do data visualization, he is wrong. Trust me, there's no one way. You probably know better way than me, or somebody else may know better way than you. So it all depends on your audience. You can convey a message using different techniques. Like I said, it all depends on your audience. Right. So depending on the type of data that you have to select the right visualization. For example, if you have sales data and you want to show comparison of sales between different employees, then you can use bar charts or column charts. If you want to show sales over a period, you can not only use bar charts or column charts, but you can also use line charts. If you want to show, let's say, compact visualization, then instead of proper charts, you can use spark lines. We just use spark lines. You can also use conditional formatting on cells, which has data. So if you noticed, I used conditional formatting there in the second chart. Similarly, if you want to show the size of items in one data series proportional to the sum of the items, then you can use a pie chart. I hope you know these terms: line charts, column charts, pie charts. If you don't worry, we will go through each chart in detail. Yeah. And if you have multiple data series, then in case of pie chart, you can use a donut chart. So this is all about data visualization in theory. Okay, enough of theory. Let's get our hands dirty now. Okay, so let's go to Excel. Right. So here I have a sample data which is not yet formatted. We will come to the preparing of the data in the later sessions. Let's first understand the different chart elements, styles, and layouts available to us. Let's select the data A2 to C7. Then click on the Insert tab. So in the Insert tab, there are 2 groups that we will work with. Okay, the first is the Charts group, and the second one is the Sparklines group. You will see 2 other groups, which is Add-ins and Tours. You may not see it if you do not have Office 365, so don't worry, we are not covering these 2 right now. So we're only going to cover these 2. I will cover about these 2 groups in one of my future advanced dashboard sessions. In the charts group, you have recommended charts, which is this. When you click on that, you will be presented with an insert chart dialog box. The insert chart dialog box has 2 sections, recommended charts, and the second one is all charts. Okay, the recommended chart section has a predefined chart format. So if you scroll down, you can see that. Okay, so if you take your mouse cursor over it, you can see how your chart will look like. Okay, you can click on them, and if you click on OK, it will create a particular chart. Okay, so if you do not want to use the recommended charts, don't worry, you have all charts. Here you have so many charts. We'll not go all into all of them right now, but if I want, I can select the line chart. I can, if I, let's say, select line chart, I can get line, I can get stack line, 100% stack line, and so on. Similarly for columns. So for the data that we have selected here, let's select the column chart. In fact, we'll go ahead with the clustered column chart. Yeah. Once you have selected that, click on OK. And this is how your chart looks like. Now, the chart that is displaying the publisher name here in the x-axis and the sales in the y-axis. Okay, and I have Jan and Feb as the legend. I will talk about this in a short while. If I do not want to show the Feb data series, then I can remove that from the source data. Now, how do I do that? I'm going to show you 3 ways to do that. Okay, the first way, keep the chart selected. Okay, then go to the chart design tab if it is not selected. And under the data group, okay, click on select data. You will get a select data source. Currently, it is selecting A22C7. Simply select the new range and click on OK, and you will have the Jan data displayed in the chart. So this is the first way. Okay. Now, let's try the second way. When you select the chart and if the data is in the same worksheet, then do you see the data gets highlighted with these bodies? This is the second way. So if I want to include Feb, take the mouse cursor at the bottom and just drag it towards the right. This is the second way to change the source data. The third way is to drag it like this. Yeah. Okay. The other way is also you can right click on it, right click on the chart, and you can do select data, and you will get the same dialog box that we saw earlier. So this is a very basic chart, but this is good enough for us to understand the different chart elements, layout, and styles. Okay. When the chart is created, as you can see, 2 contextual tabs are created. First is chart design. The second is format. Okay. So let's come back to the chart design. We will cover chart design in this video. There's a lot of stuff here. It may look like a simple thing, but once I take you through it, you'll realize there are a lot of stuff here. The first section on the left is add chart element. Okay, you will see a lot of options here. For example, axis titles, chart titles, data labels, etc., etc. These chart elements help you describe your charts in detail. This way, your data can become more meaningful and easier to understand. If you hover through each one of them, yeah, see what happens. You can notice in real time how your chart will look like. See? Do not click on it, just hover your mouse like this. Till the time you do not click on it, this will not be applied to the chart elements. It is only when you click on it will the chart elements be applied. You can also access these chart elements. Can you guess from where? One is from this area, but also from the chart. Do you see this plus icon? If you click on this, you can also see the chart elements here. Here as well, you can preview how your data is displayed. Okay, so if you click on, just do not click on it, just hover. You can preview how your data is displayed. You can select or deselect by clicking on the checkbox. If you select a particular checkbox, that will be applied. Now let's understand each of these chart elements one by one. So the first one is axis. Okay. In Microsoft Excel, majority of the people work with 2-dimensional charts. Let's go to PowerPoint for a moment. Okay. So this is a 2-dimensional chart. Okay. These charts have typically 2 axes. The first is y-axis, which is also called the vertical axis or the value axis. This is the y-axis. And then you have x-axis, which is at the bottom. It is also called horizontal axis and or category axis. Okay. Then you have 3D charts, which look like this. In this, we not only have the y-axis and the x-axis, but we also have something which is called a z-axis. The z-axis is also called depth axis or series axis. So depending upon the chart, you may either see x-axis or y-axis or z-axis, or you may not even see one of them. For example, pie charts or donut charts, they do not have any axis. We will go much deeper into this when we handle each of the charts. Okay, so we'll go back to Excel. So this is the axis. Right now, if you uncheck this, the axis will go away. But if you click on this, the axis will come back. By default, Excel puts the axis. Sometimes it doesn't. So go ahead and select it and the axis will come back. Okay. Now, what are axis titles? They are nothing but labels which explain what that axis is all about. Okay. Now, if you look at this chart currently, you can see that the data on the top left, you can look here and you can see that this is the sales. But if I hide this data, can you look at this data and tell me what the axis is all about? Is this sales? Is this rupees? What exactly is this amount? Yeah. So what you have to do is let's add axis titles. Okay. And if you click on this small arrow button, you get 2 more checkboxes. One is primary horizontal and primary vertical. In most of the options, you'll also see a button which is called more options. If you click on this, you will get a window pane here. I will not go into this in this session. I will cover this in the next session. Okay. So let's come to axis titles. Once you click on this, you will get to axis titles. Okay. Now, Excel has inserted the axis title, but I still do not know what this title is. So either you can type on this, double click on this, and you can type what this title is. what is accesses. So you can say publisher or whatever it is. I'm going to press Control Z. Or what you can do is select the access title so that you get these 4 dots, round things, and then just type the equal to sign. The moment you type the equal to sign in the formula bar on top, you'll see an equal to sign here. Simply select the cell which has the access title and press the enter key. So you get publisher. Similarly, this is sales. So I'll type equal to, and then I will click on sales and press the enter key. Yeah. What is the benefit of this? Tomorrow, if you want to, let's say, make a small change, it's not publisher, it's publishers. So you can do that and the chart will automatically get updated. You do not need to edit the chart anymore. Moving on. The next chart element is chart title. When you create a chart, by default, a chart title appears at the top. If you do not see it, that means you either deleted it or you chose not to show it. So click on this and the chart title will appear as well. Okay. Now, you can do the same trick here as well. So if you have, let's say, a particular title for the chart, if you say publisher sales, you can do that. Publisher versus sales, whatever you want to decide the chart title. Click on the chart title, press the equal to sign, and then select the cell and press enter, and the title will come up. Moving on to the next chart element, which is data labels. Okay, data labels is another important chart element which helps the viewer to understand what a particular data series or a data point is by displaying a value next to it. So let's try and add the data labels to this chart. I'm going to select it. Okay. So now data labels is the values that you can see. Now you can choose where do you want to show the data label. You can show it in the center, you can show it in the inside end, inside base, outside end, or data callouts. Now I never use data callouts. It really makes the chart messy. Unless you have, let's say, only 2 series and a couple of data points, not more than that, then probably you may use it. So I may use it in a pie chart, but seriously, I don't use this. I would rather put it on the outside end so that it is easier to read. Okay. There are a lot of times when you do not have to use a data label. For example, the upper management would like to see the direction of the series, whether it is an upward trend or a downward trend. They'll not be bothered with numbers at the moment. The alarm bells will go off when they see a downward trend. In that case, yes, numbers become important. So you decide when to show data labels and when not to. Again, it all depends upon your audience. The next chart element that we will cover is the data table. That was data labels. This is data table. Now, data table is useful when users want to see the source data while looking at the chart. Sometimes what happens is the source data is in a different worksheet. So they might want to see the data with the chart. So data tables will help you that. One important thing about this data table is that it is not available for all the charts. It is available only for bar chart, column chart, area chart, and line charts. So only 4 of them. So if I change the chart type of this particular chart from clustered column to a pie chart, let's say, I'll explain this button later on, but if I change it to pie chart, and if I come here, you'll see the data table is missing. I'll do Control Z. So remember, only these 4. Why? While we are at this, I might as well explain how to change the chart type. So if you go to chart design, in the type group, you see change chart type. If you click on this, you will get a change chart type dialog box. This is the same thing that you got when you clicked on recommended charts. So from here, you can change the chart type to whatever you want. Yeah. So I'm not going to apply anything. Yeah, but you can try this later when I'll explain each and every chart in detail. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's add the data table. If you click on this, it will say with legend keys, with no legend keys. So see what happens. When you type with legend keys, there are 2 dots here, blue and orange. When you say no legend keys, those are also gone. Okay. If you will notice that Excel adds this small table at the base of the chart. The horizontal axis now has the headers from the table. So you have Nintendo, Super Mario, Tetris, Pac-Man, etc. These are the headers. Again, an important tip. This happens only for column, area, and line charts. In the case of bar chart, that table does not replace the horizontal axis. It just aligns itself below the axis. We will visit each of these chart elements once again when we are covering the charts individually in detail. Yeah. You also have an option to show all or hide the legend keys. You can again do that by clicking on the plus sign like this. Yeah, and if you go, I've already shown that to you. So if you click here, if you do this, the legend keys will go away. You can try that. So what I usually do is, I do not usually put the data table. I try and keep the chart as simple as possible. If you remember, I said on the 8th day, I will explain how to create a data visualization. There you will see that I will use very least amount of chart elements and still make the chart expressive enough to tell you what it is doing. Okay, moving on to the next chart element, which is error bars. Okay, so the error bars are important when you want to graphically show the potential error amounts respective to each data marker in the data series. At the moment, if I give you a brief theory, you may not understand it, but don't worry. Once we make those stock charts, you'll understand that. You can also customize the error amount. You can either show a fixed value or a percentage or a standard deviation. We will not go into that at the moment. I'm not going to teach you standard deviation. I hope you already know that. Yeah, but in case it is required in the future that we do a standard deviation class, we will do that as well. Okay. For demonstration purpose, I will show the error amount in percentage. Okay. So keep the chart selected, click on the plus sign if it is not selected, and click on the error bars. Yeah. Then once that is done, click this arrow and select percentages. Excel by default sets 5%. Now, how do I know that? Click on more options. Okay. So when you click on more options, Excel will present you with a format error bar pane, which is this box. You will get these panes with the chart elements. I will also cover that in one of the future videos. In the error bar option, look at the bottom, the error amount. If I let's say click on OK, do you see this 5%? This is how I know that it has set it to 5%. You can, this is where you can also choose if you want the error amount as fixed value or percentage or standard deviation, standard error, or whatever it is. Okay, we'll not go into that. The error bars can only be added to 5 kinds of charts, guys. Remember that: bar chart, column chart, line chart, 2D area, XY scatter chart, and bubble charts. You cannot add this to any other charts. The next chart element is grid lines. Now, it is already selected, but if you click on here, you'll see primary, major, horizontal, which if I uncheck this, you'll understand what it is. So if you click on this, you will get the horizontal grid lines. Similarly, primary, major, vertical, primary, minor, horizontal, and primary, minor, vertical. These are different options. I usually avoid putting the axis. Again, it depends on the grid lines, again, depending on your audience. So this is how you can set the grid lines. So just like you see these grid lines in the Excel worksheet, a chart that has axis also has horizontal and vertical grid lines. These grid lines make it easier to interpret the charts. But like I said, depending upon the audience, there are a lot of times when removing the grid lines is a better option. This is when you have, let's say, a smaller chart and the grid lines make the chart look messy. In that case, removing the grid lines will make absolute sense. Let's move to the next chart element, which is the legend. Now, legend, they help the audience or the viewers understand the charted data. Whenever you create a chart, legend is created by default. This is called a legend that you see here. Okay, each legend includes at least one legend key. These are individual legend keys. A legend key is a single colored or patterned marker in the legend. Now, why did I say patterned here? It's a solid color. So in the next session, I will explain how to change that. So in the current chart, there are 2 legend markers, one for Jan and one for Feb. If your chart does not have legend, then probably it is because it has been manually removed from the chart. Yeah, or it's some other chart which does not have a legend or different layout. Okay, so in that case, it may look like this. Don't worry. Either click on this plus sign or in the chart design, go to the add chart element and click on the legend and you will get the legend. Okay, did you notice it added the legend but on the right side? Why? Because I removed the legend which was at the bottom and then it by default added the legend on the right. So you can decide where you want to show the legend. Obviously, showing the legend on the top really does not make sense because it will clash with the values, the chart title, etc. People usually keep it either at the bottom or towards the left or the right. Again, depending upon your audience, do that. On the add chart element, you will see that the lines is mentioned below the legend, but it is disabled. And I don't see it here. Similarly, the up-down bars is also mentioned. It is not shown here. So what are these? So drop lines are lines leading from a particular data point to the category axis. So what is the category axis? If you remember the PowerPoint slide, category axis is the x-axis. Let's check how do they look visually. Let's go ahead and let's click on the add chart element in the chart design tab again. Okay. Okay, let's click on. Can we do it from here? I want to explain this to you because this is really amazing. Or rather, this will be shown in the line chart. Let's do a line chart. Yeah. Okay. Now let's check. See. Okay, we'll come to, let's do up-down bars first. So when you click on up-down bars, you will see that. Okay, hold on. Let's go ahead and let's change it to. I'm thinking, should I do it now? Because I'm looking at the time, we are falling short. Okay, let's do one thing. I'm going to explain this to you later on. These are 2 chart elements that I will cover when I'm covering those charts. Remember, guys, one is the lines, drop lines. So this is how the drop lines look like, and this is how high-low lines. So the difference between drop lines and the high-low lines is when you have drop lines, the line will fall from the data point to the x-axis. Okay, I'm going to remove this data table. Okay, I'm going to remove the error bars as well. Okay, so now if you go to the chart element, if you click on drop lines, this is how the drop lines look like. And when you have high-low lines, then what it does is it shows the line between the first data series and the last data series. So if I change the source data of this to, let's say, this chart, right? And now if I add high-low lines, you will notice that the line is between the first data series and the last data series, which is between Jan and March. I'll cover all of these in detail. Don't worry about the lines, high-low lines and drop lines. Similarly, the up-down bars. When you click on the up-down bars, this is how it looks like. So when I'm explaining about the line chart in detail, we will cover these then. Okay. So the next one is trend line. What exactly is a trend line? Let's click on this. Okay. Trend line displays the trends in data. So the trend line can assist the audience to analyze plotted data and arrive at certain conclusion. Now, trend lines can also help in regression analysis. I'm not sure whether you guys have done regression analysis. Depending on the trend line, you can also predict the future values, etc., etc. So if required, we can do a session on regression analysis in the future. So we'll not go that into detail right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a trend line. Okay. And in this add trend line box here, you can choose whether you want to add a trend line to Jan, Feb, or March. Okay. So if I select Jan and if I click on OK, you can see the trend line. So what does the trend line tell me? That the sales are dipping. It shows a downward trend. So remember this. Trend lines are very important. Usually the management likes to see a trend line. So your audience may tell you that, yes, I want to see a trend line. Yeah, these are linear trend lines. If you wish, you can add a linear trend line for the Feb series as well. So I click on linear, I click on Feb, I click on OK, and you can see the trend line for Feb as well. This is important, guys. So I want you to go ahead and add trend lines. You can do the trend lines on the chart that we created earlier, the clustered column. So don't worry, go to change chart data type, column, clustered column. So this is what the actual chart was. Let me also remove data labels, and you can now see the trend lines clearly. Okay, the next thing is the quick layout. This is very simple, guys. It already has some predefined layouts. So if you hover your mouse over it, you can see what kind of layout. There are a lot of times when you don't have the time, you just insert a chart and then you select a particular layout. I personally do not use this. I like to use my own settings. Basically, I like creating charts, layouts from the scratch. And when I'm going to show that to you in the 8th session, you will love it. You'll see I don't use any of these. Similarly, you have something which is called change colors. This is the palette. What kind of palette do you want? So you want the palette 1, palette 2. See, when you hover your mouse over it, you'll see different palettes. Yeah. If you want a monochromatic layout, you can use that as well. So what monochromatic does is it selects one color and it shows you different shades in it. Yeah. So this is also part of your homework, guys. So always remember one thing: when you select a particular layout, it may reset the values in the chart. So when you're doing your homework, don't worry. If that happens, go ahead and reapply the chart elements. This is the chart styles. Again, it has predefined chart styles. Just hover your mouse over it and you will see it. Yeah. So if you're in a hurry and you want a quick chart, you can use one of these. Again, I don't use this. I created from the scratch. This is the switch row column. When you click on this, see what happens. The switch row column, it swaps the data over the axis. So if you do not want to show it this way, go ahead and switch row column through this point. You can also do that when you're doing select data. When you click on select data, here you'll see switch row column. So you can use that as well. Okay. The last one is move chart. This is really interesting, guys. So what happens is, this is a chart object which is embedded in sheet 1. I'm going to insert one more sheet, a blank sheet. So if you wish, you can move this chart either as an embedded object in another sheet or as an independent chart sheet. So if you click on move chart, you get this dialog box. There are two options. It says new sheet and object in. If you click on new sheet, Excel will automatically give it a name. But in case you replace this with sheet 2, then it says this sheet already exists. Do you want to place the chart embedded in the existing sheet? So if you say yes, the chart will move from sheet 1 to sheet 2. Again, if I click on this, if I move this to sheet 1, we'll go back to sheet 1. So this is how you move a chart within sheets. The same thing, you can use the second drop down, which is here. So you can move it into sheet 1, sheet 2. These are the other two sheets where it can be moved to. If you do not give a name, which is the pre-existing worksheet name, and if you give it a chart 1, and if you click on OK, see what happens. Excel creates an independent chart sheet. So sometimes what the client wants is, it'll give you data, it'll tell you create independent chart sheets and then tie it up with one sheet where you click on a button and it takes you to different charts. So again, this is something which I will take you through in the future, how to navigate through different charts. Right. The beauty of this chart sheet, there are two main things which I would like to tell you. The first is you get more area to work with. The only drawback is you can't use this in dashboards. So for dashboards, you need embedded charts. So you can put a couple of charts next to each other and it looks nice. So for example, if I move this from here back to sheet 1, it'll come back here. So if you're creating a dashboard, you can bring something like this. You can remove the legend. You can delete this. You can delete this. I'm just giving you an example. Obviously, I'll not do this. And I'll paste this here. So while creating dashboards, you can click on this, change the font to 10 or 8 or 6 or whatever it is. So this is the cons of chart sheet, that you cannot put them in a dashboard, but small charts you can, embedded charts you can put in a dashboard. The second important thing, which only if you're learning programming, is every chart sheet has its own events. So in Stack Overflow recently, one person asked me, said if I want to click on the chart and the chart should zoom in, And when I click on it again, the chart should zoom out. He said, I do not want to use this because this button zooms in the sheet and zooms in and zooms out the worksheet, which I don't want. I only want the chart sheet to zoom in. How do I do that? You cannot do that with an embedded chart. You can do that, however, with an independent chart sheet. So if you right click on this and you click on view code, I'm just giving you a brief description. You'll see that this is the chart here and these are the chart elements. So you have mouse down, mouse up events where you can write code on how to trap the click event. We'll not go into this. So when you click on this, that event fires and then you can zoom further. And then you can click on again on the chart and you can zoom out. So this is the benefit of the chart sheet. You can't do that with embedded charts. So this was all about chart design. Yeah, if you keep on experimenting with this, you will really love working with charts. This knowledge is important, guys, because when we are working with charts, okay, I will be taking you through a lot of stuff. And when I tell you to add a particular chart element, you should not get confused. Hey, where did you get that chart title from? Why is that chart title or axis title suddenly changing? You know, the moment you change the values and so on. So